Kia ora, my name is Xanthi, presenting for Hongyue presentation, our Garden the Wave, for Shenzhen City at the International World Garden Expo. The story of the wave starts with the idea of Shenzhen being a city that has come from an old village beside the sea, and the concept that the ocean has sustained this piece of land for a long time. And now over the previous 43 years, this has risen into this great new and innovative place. And so taken the idea of this wave, the idea that the wave's energy carries forward from one generation to the next, and this idea of renewal and innovation, and captured it into a central form that runs through the garden in the form of a glass ball. So we think about the wave like a wave out of the past. The future is born, each moment rising and falling, carrying the memories of before into what is now and what will be the future. And the idea of this energy of past generations helping to propel us with their knowledge and their experience into new innovation and into improving ourselves. And so through this wall, we also think about the qualities of water and how water, be it a dark kind of cool day or a misty moment, or whether it be rain pouring down, that water captures light and changes in its mood, and it really doesn't matter the nature of the day. Within that water and within glass, we capture these different atmospheres, and so it becomes a conduit for the environment around us. And so the central wave travels through the garden, and it creates two halves of the garden, one beside the river and one which you see from the entrance of the main square. So the first thing you see when you come to the garden is the beautiful palms, very characteristic of Shenzhen, and they frame the entry of the garden. You get a view of this beautiful glass wall shimmering, and then you can walk alongside the wall or to the wall, and then as you travel around or through the wall, you are met by the river which flows aside, and that is where you can sit and you can enjoy the beautiful garden. The structure of the wall, though it is curved, it is based on scientific research that has been done by Harvard University, looking at the structure of bricks and the optimum curve in which to create strength. So the curves that we've used to create the wall are based on scientific research of how you create these walls. And you can see these structures here in these diagrams. These walls are actually sustained without mortar. So we've kind of looked at a curve, which is something that is difficult to build from a construction perspective, but we've looked at the limits from the study which show how far we can push it, and then we've moved these to kind of take those limits to within the wall. And then there's moments where it kicks out, where there's a little bit more complexity, but generally we've kept to good engineering limits to make sure that this thing looks very clever and fresh, but is also easy to build, challenging to build, but pleasurable to build. You can see here the structure, the idea that when we work with these bricks, we can play with them a little bit. We're going to look at different courses, and we're going to make sure that these edges, these curves are supported in the structure by good archways. We are also looking at, in these archways, is the opportunity at these points, these special points here, to install like little secrets that are hidden in the walls. So little mirrors and little moments of sparkle that might capture different moods and different weathers, be it sunny or rainy or windy or misty. These little reflections and things are going to capture. Reflections will throw people's faces back at them. And these little holes in the wall give opportunity for people to pass things through, maybe to sort of share kind of a lover's note or something as they pass by, because the wall is like a city. And so the energy of the garden moves around the structure, while the plants on the side of the garden create the harmony. And so the concept of these bricks having these different transparent, translucent, textured finishes, each block can be crafted to have different qualities, layering up the interest in the wall and the different ways that it will be affected by light and by rain and by movement. And so the garden has paths that you can journey through. So you come to the garden, but you wander. You can also sit beside the river and enjoy the garden and enjoy the views and get a balance of the energy that a city brings and that technology brings, but also the serenity and the balance that has with a garden. So of course, the most important thing with a garden is the planting. And so we have spent a lot of time making sure, because Shenzhen is a very important botanical city, to make sure that this planting is very, very special and very distinct and fresh and exciting. Of course, we have the wonderful tropical climate of Shenzhen to consider. And so we've looked at these beautiful Bismarckia palms, Lagerstromia, Dracaena Draco, so these beautiful sculptural forms, Brugmansia, which has trumpet-like flowers, which are very dramatic and very special. But we've also looked at creating these beautiful sort of coastal colours and tones, which kind of remind us of the ocean. And so we kind of imagined that the plants are like seaweeds or corals beneath the ocean, as well as plants that would grow by the shore. And so we've got these tones of these beautiful hot limes to yellows to corals, and then the silver tones, which creates a really exciting and distinct botanical selection. Going into things like the acacia, Euphorbia glaucus, Setsio serpens. So botanically, this is a really exciting garden, which is sort of showing combinations of plants that we think are really fresh and dynamic and new, and not kind of really cutting edge, very contemporary, and quite fresh in terms of design. Got combinations of plants that might not normally be shown together, things like the euphorbia with the Echeveria succulents, and then of course the dramatic palms that frame the garden and frame the views of the river as you experience it. And see these lovely colours coming through and how they really zing against each other. But as well as the colour through the garden, architectural form is also really important. This is a garden that's designed to be beautiful at all times of year, as well as the waves of colour coming across it. The textures and form of the plants are going to be stunning throughout the seasons. You can see in the sun, we're looking at the qualities on the glass of the light, and we're also looking at how those go through into the palette of our planting. But a garden is as important in all seasons, and so when we think of the glass, we explore it for light, and we think of the garden with all the seasons and the colours and the flowers that change it. But we also think about the quiet times and the qualities of water running down the material, and the beauty that you get in these moments as well, the sparkle that brings. And the idea that through the misty moments, the plants with the glauca, the colour, the silver tones of the leaves take on a whole new quality, which is really reminiscent of the ocean and the seaside and water and that energy. And even in lone light, where we've got darkness and maybe soft light coming from behind, the wall and the elements around take on all these different qualities. So this is something that is so important in garden, and so important when we design with plants, is understanding the changes in the day and the changes in the time of the year. And we feel like the wall, even though it represents the city and the movement and the energy and technology, we think it should still also dance with all these different moods and atmospheres of a garden. We're looking here at just how the different perforations and textures that we can use in the different glass box are going to, at all times, create interest and things to see and understand through the structure. So the structure is permeable and translucent. It doesn't hide, it frames, it teases, it suggests. You see movement. Even on a windy day, we're going to see these plants dancing behind this wall. And the colours of the plants behind the wall are going to create this changing kaleidoscope, which is going to be very beautiful. Also through the garden, connecting the wall and this wave that's rising up, like frozen moments in time, we have these beautiful glass rocks. So instead of natural rocks through our planting, we've taken these glass forms which are taken from recycled glass and made into these rocks. And we have one of these to represent every year of the city's aspirations and achievements. And these run through the garden like natural sculptural forms, but at night we can light them from beneath and they will glow. So the whole garden will become guided by these beautiful stones that sit within it. And the last stone will sit at the end of the garden. I'll point it out when we get to the plan. Will sit beside the river, and it's a big, beautiful glass seat. And on that seat, it's a place where you can sit, and that one masterpiece, that represents the future. So the years to come, the aspirations that are going to keep being achieved and keep being worked towards. And of course, glass is about exploring light. And as we've looked at rain, and as we've looked at wind, and as we've looked at what happens behind the wall, we also want to look at the wall and what happens with the light when light moves through it. So sunlight and artificial light, and how can we use this wall as a conduit for energy, which can capture other energies such as sunlight and LEDs. So we're looking at what will happen on a day where the sun can go through it, and how will that cause patterns on the ground, because we don't want to ignore the beauty of sunlight when that happens. So this wall constantly changes with the seasons, and the perforations in the wall will create shadows and different light effects. So at no time or no day could you ever go to see this wall and have exactly the same experience. Totally depends on that moment in time, and yet every moment has something else beautiful to discover, another little piece of magic, this continuous seasonality. And this is captured at night too, when the wall comes to life and the stones in the garden can softly glow, and the light can be changed to represent different occasions. It can dance with the colours of the planting, change with the colours of the season in the garden. But it's like the garden's sparkle doesn't end during the day. It becomes even more of a spectacular moment in the evening. And I think many of us, we work long days, and it might be dark already by the time we wander in a garden, and bringing it to life with this magical light is really important. The reflections too from the mirrors will capture light, but they also provide opportunities to reflect ourselves and to mirror things from within the garden. And this happens all times of the year. So we can see these different mirrors, almost like solar panels, this idea of harnessing energy and sustainable design. The little mirrors will reveal things and create different effects. They will throw light, but they will also capture images. And often on a very still day, these will be more distinct and more beautiful and will reveal things depending on the angle that they're placed. And so this is around the doorways, we imagine. This is the moment where we would put little mirrors into these bricks and little prisms and things to create these magical moments to discover, so that the experience is layered, and your first experience is wonderful, but the more time you spend in there, the discovery just keeps on continuing. And so this is the plan of the garden in relation to the square and to the river running along here. You can see this is the very, very special rock here, which sits beautiful glass boulder here. You come into the garden from the square. At this point here, you get a beautiful view through the palm trees of the wall across the planting. You also have two entry points to the garden. One that allows you to walk along the side of the wall, and you'll get little peeks of the river in the garden through the little doorways, and you can slip through some of them if you want to. Or you can come in through this way and see the full spread of the wall across the planting. And then as you come round through here, the river is revealed to you. So you get another moment. On this side, you can slip in and go straight to the river. And I think each experience is beautiful. And I would like to, each time I came to this garden, have the opportunity to visit from a different direction. And when you come around the garden, the shapes of this garden allow for you to possibly rest for a moment, or sit here, or stand and contemplate. You can look back out over the river to other things beyond, or look to the wall and look to this energy that carries us through. We've got some beautiful palms here too, which frame this river view. The garden wraps around, we'll have lots of beautiful trees and shrubs on these sides to make sure that the garden is enclosed and can be enjoyable. And here you can see these curves create shapes in which to be enclosed. So when you come around here, you are lovely and kind of held by the shape and the energy of the wave, as well as moved through the garden by it. And then same on this side, it's like arms wrapping around you. So it becomes a very intimate space. Even though there's just one wall that moves around it rather than a wall that surrounds it, within it there are corners and moments and framing to allow you to reflect and for you to appreciate the environment that this garden is in, and to come from this big, wonderful square, but really enter into another world that's full of magic. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. I look forward to talking to you more, and this is the way. Thank you.